Thomas, welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I'm sorry, the story is slightly funny. This is one of those things of, what is it, dessert before a supper. We get to the weightier issues later on, but right now we're going to have comic relief with starring Joy and Reid. The sad part is, I did an entire video the other day calling Joy Behar, Joy and Reid. It's weird and bizarre. I know who Joy Behar is. I read an article of Joy and Reid prior to doing that particular one, and she was just in my head. In this particular case, the target is correct. Now, Joy and Reid got into a bit of issues last week. Some of her early writings were dredged up. Somebody, you know, went hunting for some early writings for whatever reason. They wanted to see what she had to say back then. She was gay shaming a lib, not just a lib, but a Democrat. Like, what I mean by that is, for Democrats, because they've doubled down on this thing of identity, as opposed to actual economics, the Democratic wheelhouse, or at least it used to be. All of it boils down to your sexes and your races if you don't vote for us. Well, it seems somebody in their own ranks had no issue using, these kind of these gay shaming tactics in her pursuit of one of her political rivals. Now, in this particular case, though, she ended up in another bit of an issue. She weaponized Jane Sanders, Bernie Sanders' wife, in order to beat Bernie Sanders over the head with his wife at the exact same time attacking Jane Sanders in the process. Look, I said before, I thought that was Joy and Reid coming out saying she was clinically insane. But other people disagree with me. Other people think she's just a Democratic hack who's somewhat tasteless in her pursuit of going after somebody who she dislikes. And mind you, the reason she dislikes him, the Hill supporters, Hillary Clinton supporters, have been these kind of scorned, bitter people. Whether you're talking about Peter Dow, whether you're talking about Tom Watson, who's trying to start a Never Bernie campaign, all of these people are bitter and upset. Mind you, they won the primary. They cheated our guy, but they won the primary. How can you be bitter after it comes out that you guys cheated? It's fucking amazing. Whatever. Bitter and tasteless. Back then, last week, she said this. Let's see. Let's show it. I get that he has a hardcore following, but his own attitude towards women, from his weird early writings to his physical dismissal of women in his presence, including his own wife, make that an incredibly dubious prospect. The conversation they were having was about Bernie Sanders. Essentially, she did this thing of disallowing Bernie Sanders in regards to these kind of presidential candidates coming up, or potential candidates. And she was like, yeah, Bernie Sanders is kind of sexist. Essentially, that's what she's saying. Now, the wild part about this is, when it was found out that she was gay shaming in her early writings of Charlie Crist, she said, I hope that you would essentially know my heart in this. I hope that you would know that I am not against the LGBT community. I am just okay with using you as some kind of prop if I need to attack somebody else. She didn't say the last part, but that was the reality of it. She was slapped down roundly by Jane Sanders, who showed how to deal with a tasteless person with class and grace. Let's look at Jane Sanders' response. I didn't answer your biased reporting about Bernie during his last 2 years. Reporting is too strong. Look, Jane Sanders, again, class and grace. She's far too nice. Nothing that comes out of that propagandist's mouth can be considered reporting. She's a propagandist. She's a Democratic functionary. Her job is to be a Democratic functionary. The fact that she's going to do a tweet saying that Bernie Sanders is sexist in and of itself tells you the degree and the quality and the accuracy of the reporting that you can expect out of Joy and Reid. But again, Jane Sanders is too nice. So let's keep going. I didn't answer your biased reporting about Bernie Sanders during the last 2 years, Joy and Reid. But don't ever use me to demean my husband. I am very happy and very proud to be Bernie's wife, and you should be. Your perception couldn't be more wrong. Have you ever talked with him? Have you ever spoken with me? You don't know me. You've never talked to me. You've never talked to him. And you've been sitting on this perch in regards to this kind of functionary of the Democratic Party. Well, this kind of propagandist on the payroll of the Democratic Party in this way. You've never talked to us. The guy ran for president. You've never talked to us. Now, that being said, I'm pretty sure that neither one of them wanted to actually talk to Joy-Ann Reid. They were just kind of making this point of, you were in your camp and you were being blatantly inaccurate for the pursuit of one of the candidates. So, Joy-Ann Reid, after being slapped down in this way, she didn't take this lie down because it's Joy-Ann Reid, and like I said, I personally believe she's clinically insane. She doubled down on the tweet. She doubled down. Let's see, let's go to this tweet. Here's my tape again. Here's the tape again. But again, I withdraw my implied defense of Jane. Do you honestly believe, like I said, I think she's clinically insane. I think this is her way of coming out saying, take me off the air. MSNBC, they may like her because she can be a hatchet man against Trump, you know, for the Democrats and everything else. Integrity doesn't necessarily need to apply. And what better in regards to this thing of integrity, if you need somebody to have the least amount of integrity possible to do the job, is to be clinically insane. The person, and insane people don't know they're insane, means she can get out there, she can repeat this type of stuff, and she can double down on absolute absurdity. She can double down on absurdity. Let's take a look at the tweet. Here's the tape again, but I withdraw my implied defense of Jane. Is there anything in this that sounds like a defense of Jane? I get he has a hardcore following, but his own attitude towards women, from his weird early writings to his physical dismissal of women in his presence, including his own wife, make that an incredibly dubious prospect. I don't understand where this is a defense of Jane. How's it a defense of anything? It's fucking ridiculousness. Defense has nothing to do with anything. Let's see. So, let's take a look at the video that she put up, because I guess this is her way of showing proof. I have proof that Bernie Sanders has been physically dismissive. His huge hulking presence has just been dismissive of women in his presence, like he's some caveman. I have proof. I have proof. Joy-Ann Reid has proof. Let's look at her proof. This better be some fucking amazing proof. All right. That's awesome. I'm sorry, that's awesome. That is like the most sexist. That is the most sexist thing Superman has ever done. I don't think it was sexist. They were in a fight. I'm just saying, it's fucking hilarious. Let's look at the real video that she's talking about. I gotta be honest, you would have preferred that video. Let's see. Alright.
This is an extraordinary turnout, Madison. Thank you so much for being here. Let me begin by thanking.
That's her smoking gun evidence. Bernie Sanders telling his wife, don't stand there. I said before, I think she's clinically insane. I think she's lost it. I think she's lost it. I think Hillary Clinton losing that election shattered something in these people. It broke something. It broke something. I don't know what it broke. I don't know what it is. I don't know if a doctor can kind of get in there with a microscope to figure out what was jarred loose, but these people have lost their mind. Keith Olbermann, Rachel Maddow, Joy-Ann Reid, these people have lost it. These people have lost it. Everything from Joy Behar celebrating on The View openly that the president of the United States was going to be impeached. That's fucking amazing. These people lost it. These people absolutely lost it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Let's go to the crowd. I don't have much to say on this one. I think, like I said, this is dessert before supper. I don't put too much thought into this. I just think it's fucking hilarious. They have lost it. Bernie Sanders lost that primary, right? Supposedly, Bernie Sanders lost that primary. Why are they acting in this weird, bitter way? I don't understand the behavior in this sense. Is it because Bernie Sanders supporters? Is it because we were right? Is it because we were right? You cheated us, and we consistently told you over and over again that you were going to lose. You're going to lose. You're not what the public wants. You're forcing something down the public's throat that it doesn't want. We just had Brexit. That doesn't look good for you. Donald Trump is even in the polls, despite the grab him by the pussy video, despite him bashing Mexicans and everybody else. He is still even in the polls. You can't pull away from him. You are going to lose. You're going to lose. And what took place? She lost. The person who was supposed to be the most inevitable candidate in the history of candidates lost to a guy who was firing has-been celebrities a year ago. That part. Look, I didn't want Donald Trump to win, but I didn't want Hillary Clinton to win either. And I have to be honest, even though I didn't necessarily want Donald Trump to win, I am okay with Hillary Clinton losing. That sounds weird. I know that sounds odd, but it's making this distinction between those things, saying, no, it's not necessarily, I think it's great that Trump is in that office, but oh man, did it feel good to see her fail. All of them fail. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. The night of the election, I was in a bit of a shock. I was like, what the fuck just took place? It was that type of thing. What does this mean? What does this mean? But then going to work the next day and to see all those Hillbots, those people who were so smug and certain, who were completely certain that they were going to be under another Democratic president, that this kind of coalition minority would come out and that they would exceed Hillary Clinton to the presidency. It will be a smooth process. It will be a smooth transition. The election is merely a formality. There's nothing to see here. Huffington Post said it was 98% lock. Do you know, on the day of the election, I made a bet that one of the Hillbots at work was going to wear a Bernie shirt. And I'm calling him Hillbot. I like the guy. He's fine. But that he was going to wear a Bernie shirt if Hillary Clinton loses. Not even lose. If Hillary Clinton didn't break 300, because he was giving her 330 points. He's like, it's going to be a landslide. It's not even going to be close. Not even going to be close. And seeing their face the next day, it's an amazing thing. It was an amazing thing. It's like you're walking in and they look at you and they can't even look you in the eye. It's like you had immensely like really rough, nasty sex or something. You can't look the person in the eye the next morning. It's like, I can't talk. I can't talk. It was an amazing thing. One of the other guys was like, oh, those fucking third-party voters. It wasn't the third-party voters, dude. Your candidate just failed. Your candidate just failed. We told you were going to lose and you lost. And this thing of, you guys are just mad that you're losing and all this other stuff. And, it's just kind of making this point like, you guys are going to lose. This doesn't look good for you. You guys are going to lose. You guys are in a bubble. You're going to lose. It's the same bubble that Republicans were in when they thought Mitt Romney was going to take the White House. Republicans thought that Obama was going to fail that election. And when you're looking at the polls in the major states, it's like, I don't know what they're looking at. It's like these guys are looking at very specific polls that are very specific to them for the thing that they want to believe. Now, they pull this inevitable shit to get through the primaries without having too much opposition in this sense. But yeah, that's just what you were saying. That's just what you were saying. Didn't jive with reality. So yeah, I think these people are scorned and bitter. And I think they're angry at Bernie Sanders because ultimately Bernie Sanders came out of this smelling like a rose. Most popular politician, beats everybody else in spades. Her party is in the gutter. Even her profession is in the gutter. Bernie Sanders has, at the very least, you can call it some semblance of a movement, in addition to having this kind of political apparatus attacking the Democratic Party in and of itself. So, between the two, one failed on their own merits, and the other one, whatever you want to think of Sanders, came out looking pretty damn good to the rest of the nation. So, yeah, I would imagine she's a little bit bitter in this. And like I said before, there's also this thing of, if Sanders is the actual left, and that the American public looks at him and says, holy shit, that guy is, yeah, I like that. I like that. Is that the left? If he's the actual left, mind you, he is the actual left, by the way. He's a classical Democrat. If he's the actual left, what does it make the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party can't even tell you what they believe in. What does it make the Democratic Party if Bernie Sanders is standing there glimmering in the sun as the actual left? It makes Democrats irrelevant. It makes her irrelevant. I would imagine she understands that, and she's terrified by the prospect. So, her anger and her bitterness. It's sad. It's sad. But personally, like I said, I think she's clinically insane. So, let's see. I'm really hating this Reid guy more and more. It's not a guy. Jeremy's not a guy. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's real fucked up. Zach Simpson. Of course she doubles down. Do people involved in mainstream politics ever admit they're wrong? You know what? That's a good point. I don't think they do. And, well, every so often. I've seen Lawrence O'Donnell come out saying that he was wrong for flipping out in the way that he flipped out on that videotape. But it's few and far between, yeah. Yeah, it's few and far between. When you get paid for lying, lying is all you do. Orthidium. See, that's my point. Does she know that she's lying? This is what I mean when I say clinically insane. Does Joy-Ann Reid know when she's looking in the camera, she's putting her mug into the camera, or she's tweeting these things out? Does she know that she's insane? Like, does she know that what she's perceiving is not the actual reality in the way that she thinks she's perceiving it? Or is she just lying? I think the being a maniac one is more terrifying. The lying one is more sad and more probably the truth. It's probably close to the truth. She probably knows she's lying. She probably knows she's lying. Cute nerd. Her only defense is she's insane, but I think she knows she's lying. Jama M. Jama. Peter Douche will have a hard time parodying her. Peter Douche is a parody of himself. I know. Yeah. Pretty much. Oh, right. Not Peter. Yeah. Peter Douche. Yeah. Peter Douche is fucking hilarious. He has this guy on there called Peter Douche Liaison now. That's like it's like Peter Douce's assume like his outlet. It's you know, he's in a consulate in Sweden somewhere, and he's sending off these little tweets through a message carrier pigeon. Luca Clemente, MSNBC is a bad joke. I honestly can't believe anyone takes Matt or Reid seriously. They've slandered themselves in this way, man. I mean, they've really tarnished themselves. I can't tell. I got to be honest. I can't tell if they were this way all the time, or if they got this way because of Trump taking office. Now, what I mean by that is, no, they were always this way. They were always this way. If they were honest, and if they were earnest, the tack they would have taken during the Obama administration would have been different. It would have been different. It would have been far much more critical of the war effort and all this other stuff. These guys are just Democrats. They're Democratic functionaries. They're just going to go with the winds of the party itself. They're going to be against George Bush. You can seem pretty lib when you're attacking George Bush. Once they get in that office, different thing. They're back to status quo. They're back to status quo. When Democrats in office, Republicans complain and bitch and moan about the debt. Oh my God, I will die on the flag before I raise 1 red cent that my granddaughter would have to pay back. I mean, they pull shit all the time. Republicans get a few months later, $9 trillion. We're raising it by $9 trillion. $9 trillion. This is gamesmanship. Joy-Ann Reid is just a part of that game in the sense of from the media standpoint. She's a Democrat. She's a propagandist. It's like state media for Democrats. Jamal, I think she's a liar. Either that or she caught the same disease that Keith Olbermann has, Zach Simpson. I think she's lying to Zach. I think she's lying too. I gotta be honest, the lying is worse. If you're clinically insane, at the very least I could say she doesn't know any better. Her money will keep her warm at night, and at the very least her money at the end of her life will be able to find a nice hospice for a life of insanity. It's like a beautiful mind, that thing where he's talking to ghosts and shadows and whatnot. She's losing it. This is the deterioration of Joy-Ann Reid and Rachel Maddow. It's fucking sad. It's fucking sad. I was waiting for Rachel Maddow to come on TV with a gun and, you know, start threatening people. It's fucking amazing. Let's keep going. She originally Congolese too. No wonder why Africa is so fucked up. It's because of people like her. I don't know what her being Congolese has to do with anything. I don't know what a Congolese has to do with anything. If anything, she is originally Congolese. Look, Joy-Ann Reid is American through and through. I have no idea what her being Congolese or her descent or none of that stuff. That stuff is squat. It has nothing to do with anything. What this boils down to is a woman who's getting paid amazing amounts of money to essentially have a career as a Democratic propagandist. That's a beginning and end. She can be white, black, Hispanic. She can be a blue alien. If they're getting paid dollars, they're going to say what they need to say. This is her career. If you remember when Donna Brazile came out and said, yes, we rigged it. We rigged it. You got us. Now mind you, they had been gotten like 8 months prior, but fair enough. Somebody on the inside came out and spilled the beans. Keith Olbermann. You would think that Keith Olbermann would say, oh my God, the Democratic Party rigged it after all? I'm outraged. I'm outraged. In the same way I used to rage out about Bush, about attacking habeas corpus and all this other stuff. I am outraged that the Democratic Party will subvert one of its candidates in an election that they kept telling me was impartial. That's what I expected from Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann's tweeted out, she's just lost her career. She's just lost her career. I think what Keith Olbermann understands is what we understand. This stuff is just a career to them. They get paid to do a job. Race, gender, all of those things are a means to an end. Politics. At least that's the way I see it. It is a cynical view, but I think it's more closer to the truth than anything else. Her being Congolese has nothing to do with it. I don't even know if she's Congolese. Grinning libertarian. Jamal, do you trust anyone in the media at all? I know the list has got to be short, but anyone in particular? So I like Real News Network. I actually do like Real News Network. RT is a mixed bag. So here's the thing with RT. In fact, I'm going to do a video by itself on RT. RT is a mixed bag. Anything that you look at, you have to understand the bias built into the thing that you're watching. There's no objective perspective. All of these perspectives are relative to others. So it's like, if I'm watching RT, I'm pretty sure RT is going to be against this kind of imperialism thing. It's going to be against capitalism. Okay, fair enough. That's their bias. That's where I know they're standing on. So fair enough. And there's other reasons to it. There's other more international reasons. Not necessarily to stabilize, but more so to calm the United States the fuck down. There's stuff like that. But ultimately, the perspective they take is this perspective of less interventionism. That's their perspective. As for like Real News it's somewhat lefty, but I think they try to be honest. I think Paul J tries to give you his best perspective. Let's see. There's a few. You just gotta know their bias. You just have to know their bias. Who's another one that I really like? Tell Us Sir is interesting, but I suspect they also have a certain bias associated with it. It's let me say it this way. When I'm looking into something, I usually look at articles. Like if I'm doing research, I usually look at multiple articles, and I usually try to find lectures on it. And sometimes those lectures go after one another. Like they don't necessarily coincide with one another. And sometimes those things have these kind of things that just is understood to be true. That type of stuff. As you're reading that stuff, even if you're looking at the Washington Post, the New York Times, all those things have certain biases associated with it. Like, it's almost like the details may have a certain level of truth to it, but the narrative changes, if that makes sense. It's like how something is cut is the thing that dictates it. There's no, the reality of it is always somewhat hazy and ambiguous. It's you try to kind of bring the story into focus based on a bunch of other stuff that you're bringing into the story. It's like I'm aggregating these sources, and this is what I think to be true based on how I view XYZ. Your analysis of it, your perspective of it, is always going to attain an aspect of you, and to some degree, is always going to be somewhat, again, off to some degree. It's like you never get this clear, objective perspective of reality. At least that's my perspective of it. But yeah, I like real news. I like real news. I read more articles than videos, only because it's like every so often I would take a break at work and just kind of go through like The Guardian or something like that. Love The Guardian. New York Times is not horrid for details. Washington Post is not horrid for details. The problem is they have narratives that are built into the way they give those stories, and it's it's hard to know what's the narrative versus what's the truth. Reuters, just bare bones, this is the bottom line of it. You can get information from anywhere, man. You just have to know the bias. That's all. Let's see. Simon and Garfunkel, they're being paid money. Is this crap? Agreed. Kathleen Cohen, it's good to see Joy Ann being put in her place. She's been very arrogant towards all of us and lying without a conscience. She's not paid to have a conscience. She's paid to be a propagandist. She can't afford a conscience. That's way too expensive. Jama M. Jama. They've revealed their true colors for sure. No wonder Democrats never get anything done when in power. The sad truth is they only give liberal policies lip service to gain their votes. Yes! Yes! Finally, yes! Yes! That's what I've been screaming about for 8 months. Yes. 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 Thank you. Jama Jama, yes, thank you. Damn, I see an ad every time I click on your vids, Jamal. No shit. Really? That's shocking. For how much I curse, I'm shocked by that. Somebody gave me cash? Kathleen Cohen. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Anyone who can support Jamal. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let's see. What our media does goes well beyond mere bias. I do think they cultivate a narrative. Like, if you were in the media and you had a capitalistic enterprise, and look, I don't necessarily know a solution to this, to be honest. Any way you cut it, there's going to be issues. Like, how do you build an organization that doesn't have a bias built into the organization? If you have state-run media, the state is just going to give you the state's perspective of things. You get a Donald Trump, and Donald Trump becomes the media. That's fucking insane. Yet and still, you have a private-run media, and then you have this thing of oligarchs making a decision on what takes place in regards to stories. And do you believe that I'm ever going to give you a story that's going to adversely affect my interests? Hell no. The narrative that I give you is going to be constrained within certain bounds that in no way jeopardizes my position and my authority and my dollars. So yeah. Cute nerd. Hard Bassett is good and also Stixelhammer. I've heard of Stixelhammer. I haven't seen him though. We'll get the Burning Bro. Oh, that's all that one. Augur Cybernaut. SCOTUS approved Trump travel plan. I saw that, Augur. I saw that. I'm not sure what to think about that yet. The bias of RT is that they would never criticize Russia. They have criticized Russia. I mean, granted, it was. I think Russia had attacked it wasn't Ukraine. It was something. Russia did something. They invaded somewhere. And the host started to flip out. Like, one host after the next started to flip out. But yeah, they have a bias. They're not gonna, it's Putin is the greatest thing alive since sliced bread. It's that type of stuff. But put it this way. Let me say it this way. In the same way that I won't necessarily go to a Republican to get information on social programs, I wouldn't necessarily go to RT to give me information on Russia. What I would go to RT is to get information on us. It's the prosecutor in that way. That's what I would go to him for. In the same way that you would look at this kind of MSNBC, the prosecutor for the Republican, you look at the Republicans, the prosecutor for the Democrats. They're biases, man. It's like, what's reality in the sense of their chambers? Actually, RT lets the American sub do whatever they want. Tech Epiphany, yeah, for the American subs, that's true. But the American subs, RT has more shows than just the American subs. And by the way, I like RT. And the last thing they should have done was pull their card in that way. It's fucking insane. It's even more insane that the other media organizations didn't get behind RT on this. It's amazing. They just threw him under the bus. Kathleen Cohen, Winkle the Bernie Bro, if you don't want to see ads, support Jamal so he can demonetize and not solely rely on ads. Oh, Kathleen Cohen. Kathleen Cohen, that's awesome. Perfectly said, Jamal. Oh, thank you, Tech Epiphany. I am thinking the aforementioned media hacks donated big chunks of money to Hillary and they are butthurt for spending money. A fucking loser. Look, I think the media got their cash. Hillary Clinton spent $1 billion. You know, a lot of that $1 billion went to the media, like running ads and everything else. They love this arrangement. Like this idea of having all this cash flowing through the media system. They love that arrangement. They love it. They got their cash. Like now put it this way. I don't think they like Trump. I definitely don't think they like Trump. And Trump was making these kind of rumbles, or they're rumbling from the antitrust department that they break up CNN. I have to be honest. I laughed at that. I thought that was funny. I did think that was funny. It's not an overreach. It's just I don't want it to be used in a punitive way. If you're going to use antitrust and go after several of these things that are considered monopolies or close to being monopolies. I forget the deal. It's a deal. I want to say Time Warner, but I don't know if it's true. But yeah, there were rumblings about breaking up CNN or breaking up the parent company of CNN. But again, that's me off the top of my head, and I don't remember all the details. Luca Clemente, Jamal, yeah, a big fan of Corbyn. Yes, I am. Yeah, Luca, yeah. Everybody knows I love Corbyn. Lorms, I heard Russia is developing its own internet, and word has it will be made available to the United States. Oh, the irony. The irony. You know, we attack that. It's amazing, man. There's a magnificent amount of propaganda that goes on in America. And we look at it as that's not that way. Like, it's almost like, it's like saying, hey, this is the land of the free and the home of the brave. Aren't you happy that you're free and brave? Yes. All right. Now you go to work 40, 50 hours a week and you make less and less income as you go about your ways. Aren't you happy you're free and proud? Yes. I can choose Coke and Pepsi. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Is there a higher degree of freedom than being able to choose Coke or Pepsi? Is working 50 or more hours a week freedom? If more than half of the country is living on this poverty wage, is that free in a capitalistic system? Free to die without health care. I'm sorry, that's not freedom. That's called propaganda. Is it free when we have 25% of the prison population in our jails? It's propaganda. It's like Fallout. I don't know if you've played Fallout. Fallout has this thing where they're living in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and yet you have this like little tiny cartoons that are happy and joyous. Like, so they were talking about a bomb shelter, and they were like, oh, you could be swimming in your bomb shelter. This would be great. This is an experience. And it's like, yeah, but you're talking about an apocalyptic wasteland, and you're talking about them swimming in my bomb shelter. Fucking maniac. It's a certain amount of propaganda to get the person to not think about certain things. Oh, we're free. We're free. I can choose Pepsi and Coke. I can choose what car I drive. I'm fucking free. I'm free. Those guys over there, those commies, those guys are not free at all. Those guys aren't free at all. Soviet Union had its own propaganda. Don't get me wrong. Soviet Union's propaganda was just as bad and just as pernicious. You can make an argument even worse. Even worse. So, yeah, this stuff is propaganda, man. It's propaganda. Land of the free and home of the brave. That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's see. Yeah, oh, the irony. I love that. Oh, I know what I was saying. We demolished Russia. Like, when Russia broke apart, when the Soviet Union disbanded, when they, went belly up, two things took place. the world became a unipolar power, meaning the United States was the sole power in the world. I mean, of course, there were more than two things, but I'm making a point. Two things for the point of this particular exercise. The United States became this unipolar power. The United States was the sole power across the world. And we chest thumped. We chest thumped. It was like, yes! We knew we were the superior system. It was the end of history. I mean, I love that statement. It's the end of history. We've arrived at the highest system in the universe. This is the best that man can do. Now, of course, every system thinks it's the best that man can do until it falls apart. The first thing, what the Soviet Union had was this kind of tortured version of something that I don't necessarily know if you can call it communism, at least not from the perspective of a Marxian system. And second, we assume that we won something. We assume that we won. And to the victor go the spoils. And one of the things that we were supposed to do when the Soviet Union went belly up was to not profit at the expense of the Soviet Union. Meaning the United States made agreements that it wouldn't necessarily try to profit at the expense of the collapsing government. Do you think we kept that agreement? No, we did not. We did not. They lost millions of people. Millions of people died as the United States gave them these kind of models and everything else to completely privatize their system. And in doing so, just this kind of shock treatment by propping up that drunk Boris Yeltsin. I mean, it's fucking amazing. Gorbachev in the United States is looked at as being this kind of heroic figure. In the Soviet Union, he's somewhat despised. He's somewhat despised. He put that country through magnificent hardship. And again, allowing the United States to get its hooks into the Soviet Union itself, into Russia. You have people who made tons and millions and billions of dollars off of the things that were done in regards to the sales and the exchanges and the behind the back deals. If I'm not mistaken, two of the people who were coordinating some of those things went to prison. So yeah, put it this way, millions of Russians died for the things that we did in that country in regards to trying to reorganize their society. And it was done for profit. It wasn't done at the behest of the Russian government. None of that stuff. It was purely done at how can we get as much profit off of this as we can possibly do. And that's what took place. So, yeah. I can imagine him being a little sore. Which came first, Jamal? The chicken or the Borg? This is the technique to derail his monologue. That's funny. Like, don't. He's a good role. LB, Soviet snow makes a man out of you. You know, the funny part, I met this Russian guy in Nepal. And I was at Kathmandu. Wasn't necessarily in the best of health. And we were sitting on the back of a patio. It was, it's hard to explain. It's like in Kathmandu, there's, in Nepal, a lot of the stuff is like alleys, at least in Kathmandu. And so you would hear beep, 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 beep. Like you hear that all day, going all the way into the night because the people can't necessarily see around corners. The streets are too narrow. And so you would have like streets and like donkeys or tuk-tuks and all this other stuff just kind of going along the same street. Cars. It's fucking terrifying. It's like you walk out your door and get hit by a tuk-tuk. So in this case, we're out back. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember if this was near one of the blackouts. They used to have the power outages every day for like an hour or so, roughly, give or take, in order to conserve energy for the country itself. And so him and I were sitting out back, and we were talking, and he's like, yeah, we're going hiking. He was Russian. He was like, we're going hiking. And I was like, all right, that's pretty badass. I was like, yeah, man, I don't think I could pull that off. He says, you can. You just have to will yourself to do it. Yeah. Okay, I understand. No, man, you can do it, man. You just have to get in the right mindset. You just have to will it. You just have to will it. It's like, okay. It's like the power of his, just willpower alone, getting you trekking through multiple days. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck with that one. Yeah, good luck on that one. Rolling blackout. That's it. Thanks, LB. Thank you, LB. Jack Lausch. But hey, we have the petrodollar. Print as much as we want. Print as much as we want. Dragonfire 12. Propagandist purpose is to make one set of people forget the certain about the other people being human. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Or the other people being corrupt. I mean, you can add a lot of stuff. Ultimately, what you're talking about is the propagandist purpose is to make people forget. Make them forget. Jedi mind trick. It's like, yeah. Captain Cohen, Winkle the Bernie Bro. I'm afraid of doing something like that. Lorms, Winkle the Bernie Bro, not stupid, but opportunities to learn and develop different strategies. Aww. Lorms. Lorms. I love my my audience. You guys aren't trying to eat each other. Ultimately, you're being supportive and productive. Good lefties. Classroom cooperation. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I know. I'm not against a person going out bashing Republicans. I do it myself, particularly when they deserve it. But understand, if the only thing that you do is bash Republicans, then implicit in the fact that the only thing that you do is bash Republicans is that the other party is saints, that they're got their shit together. Most people don't understand when they're looking at TV in this way that this is this kind of party politics, that these channels, this network is just functioning as a democratic mouthpiece in this way. They don't understand it. They think that that woman is an actual reporter. That woman is not a reporter. That woman is a propagandist. There is a massive difference in those things. She's a party mouthpiece. Rachel Maddow is a party mouthpiece. Keith Olbermann is a party mouthpiece. That's all these things are. That's all they are. They're tools. They're tools of the party. Most people don't understand that, though. They see somebody on TV, they see them dressed a particular way, and they think, this person is giving me actual information. This person is giving me actual information. They seem nice. They're polished. They're sparkling. What they're saying, by virtue of them being sparkling, shiny people, must be true. I mean, after all, they wouldn't be on TV and lying, would they? They wouldn't lie on TV. Yeah. Yeah, they would. They absolutely would. The binary thinking hasn't helped anyone yet. Orpheum, no, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. This is my argument, man. We need a third party. We need a... You have this system where people say they get so accustomed to there only being two. Like, in their heads, there are only two choices. Actually, that's not true. There are more choices. But in their heads, it's only two choices. You have Democrat and Republican. This is all you have. There is nothing else other than these two things. Meaning the range of debate between those two things, that's your political latitude. If you capture one party in this kind of corporatist way, and you capture this other party with this kind of soft corporatism, if you want to call it that, you've caught both parties. What accounted for the representation of the public itself, meaning this thing of getting the public to get its say in politics, went away the moment that the Democratic Party started taking cash and started doing the favors of the people who were giving them the cash. My focus tends to be a little bit more on Democrats because I have no expectations of Republicans. In this case, Democrats have this philosophical obligation to represent this aspect of society that is not in any way being represented. In order to do that, meaning in order to compel that particular behavior, you need a stick. You need a stick. You need something to compel them in this way. Beforehand, during the time of FDR, you had unions, you had this kind of socialist, communist movements in the United States. You had those things. Not now. Not now. This McCarthyism has destroyed this idea. Oh, this Cold War has destroyed this idea of leftism. Well, until now. Until now. So, yeah, you have two parties, which is essentially just one party with two wings. Yeah, Democrats have a philosophical obligation. And in fact, not just philosophical. Either you're lying through your teeth persistently as a Democrat, or you should actually represent something. Up until this point, you've been lying through your teeth persistently. I don't know what the Democratic Party represents. And I have to be honest, this thing of a big tent party is fucking ridiculous. There are no big tent parties. You have a party that represents specific interests. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a party. I mean, what's the party for the sake of, a party the size of the entire United States? It's fucking insane. All of the interests are not going to coincide with one another. There is no interest that I have with that snarling maniac who had all the money in the world, stuffing money in his gullet like Scrooge McDuck. that guy who's snarling, talking about shut up with that class talk, that he had the number to Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. That's fucking amazing. That's fucking amazing. The idea that this guy will come out on national television and say that, as opposed to just enjoying his control from the shadows, is telling. It's immensely telling. It's telling in two ways. A, it startled him. So this thing of people saying, well, people wouldn't necessarily let Bernie Sanders run if, you know, if they thought he would actually do something, or Sanders was controlled opposition. I've continuously made this point that that is an insane perspective. Everything is not a hoax. Everything is not a false flag. You actually do have people that function a particular way in your world. There's no way, if you were doing controlled opposition, you would have the conversation to be about class. That is too close. That is way too close. I'm sorry, that's way too close. Like, that snarling millionaire or billionaire, whatever the fuck he is, him coming out, making that speech in that way, coming from the shadows instead of wielding control from behind the scenes, coming out in public saying, I said I will shut the purse strings if Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi get out of line and start bringing up this class stuff. You don't do that unless you're concerned. I'm sorry, you don't do that unless you're concerned. I've never seen a snarling millionaire come out in this particular way. He's doing this because he's concerned. I suspect he's concerned because of Sanders. Because ultimately Sanders is trying to drag the party to the left. He's concerned. He's concerned. Good. I want him to be concerned. I want him to be concerned. That's where he should be. It's 99 fucking % of us, and it's 1% of them. How on earth does this much control get wielded in this way? And why on earth would the 99% subordinate themselves to anybody? I don't understand that process at all. That makes no sense to me. Why would you allow yourself to be subordinate to some other human being if you don't have to be subordinate to that human being? And if you're 99 versus that 1%, I understand this idea of subordinate based on skill. This person is stronger or better than I am at this particular thing, so I am learning under this particular... Fair enough. Those are just natural hierarchies. Those would be there. I'm talking about this guy has this imaginary substance that gives him more access. How did he get the substance? I have no idea. Why does the legal apparatus allow him to have a substance that was taken either by blood or stolen? Again, I have no idea. I have no idea. Somebody would move somewhere, steal a bunch of land, kill a lot of people, and say, this is mine. And then society proceeds from there. It's like, wait a minute, you just stole a lot of stuff from somebody. Hey, shh. Shh. Shut up. It's like, shut up. I just don't think they would have let Sanders have that conversation about class. That's all. I mean, if it's this thing of controlled opposition to last, that's the last conversation you want to have. That goes far, far too into the weeds from their standpoint. So, yeah. Triana, oh man, Triana be fine. Triana be fine. I love that. I bet. I bet Triana is. Let's see. Purity drowned in the swamp. Purity drowned in the swamp. There was no purity. The purity test was dirty. Oh, Kathleen Cohen, yeah, the purity test was dirty. I know, right? The billionaires had enough. That's what I think. Or them, yeah, that's what I think. I think they were like, what the fuck? They're having these conversations about class. Shut that up. Shut that up. Shut that up. Shut that up. Too close. Too close. I think they know what comes next. I think they know what comes next. What I mean by that is Donald Trump is the grossest representation of the capitalists that you could want in that office. If you can't make hay with him in that office, you're never going to make hay out of anything. Unless there's just massive societal decline and all this other stuff. So yeah. I have to be honest though, I would have never came out of the shadows like that. I don't understand why these people just don't enjoy their wealth. You have all the money in the world. Congratulations. Go away. Leave aside devices. Leave aside devices. Chuck Schumer is actually a class warrior. Yeah, for the other class. For the other class, that's right. He's afraid they're coming for his toothbrush. It's going to be more than his toothbrush. Classroom cooperative. Bonnie Florino. That's what I've been asking myself. The oligarchs' trick of keeping them scared, stupid, and sick is working. Yeah, I'm always amazed by that part. It's almost like some people are bribed, other people are useful idiots. And then you have this other minority who are like, why the fuck are you guys allowing this? It's like, why are you allowing this? So yeah. Let's see. What's so great is that truth is so powerful it gives credence to the person speaking it, worth more than all the college degrees of the propagandists. I find it comforting. Yeah. It's like, how can we arrange things? And, you know, for the parties themselves, the propaganda kind of writes itself. It's just, you have two political parties. One party says this, the other party says that. That's your range of debate, because you have two political parties. The person says, well, I don't like this one, I'm going to this one. Somebody else bifurcates into the other party, not realizing that both of the parties, for the most part, are the same. The objectives and the playing field is already agreed upon. They see the world, for the most part, in the same ways, just in varying degrees. Yeah, it's... Until you have something else, you're going to have a hard time constraining that party. This is why I think the Democratic apologists, or the Democratic appeasers, that's the one I like. Although, yeah, the Democratic apologists, the guys who we want to dim enter. We want to dim enter. It's like, to what end? You believe that by quote unquote dim entering, that is going to somehow change that party. Why would that party change? What have you done that have threatened that party in any way to get that party to want to change in any particular way? You've just screamed that you want to continuously dim enter. It doesn't matter how much you get beat or kicked or embarrassed. You know, the husband has sex outside with the maid on the lawn, and you see it, and he comes back in and says, I didn't do it, I'm sorry, and you just take him back anyway. It's like, come on, man. At some point, you have to get to the point of saying no. I'm not going to go into my no speech. I'm just saying, no is a revolutionary thing. That's all I mean. If you actually want to get real change in the party, that party has to know it can lose. And up until this point, that party understands that all of these people are terrified and running back to the party because they're scared of Trump. Nothing needs to change. Status quo forever, based on the fear and the cowardice of the public. So, who is propping up this puppet, Joy Reid? She has no talent and lies constantly. I don't know anyone else who actually watches her. What do you mean she doesn't have any talent? Lying is her talent. I mean, come on. I told you before, man, I like watching people do something that's immensely good. Like, they're so fucking amazing at it. Like watching Jordan play basketball, or watching watching a musical artist just do something that's amazingly well. Well, Joyanne Reid's, that's her thing. That's her thing. I can be shameless. I can shed my integrity like, you know, it was a superpower. Like the Invisible Woman going invisible. I have the same thing within regards to integrity. I could just be vacant of integrity when I say things. That is a power unto itself, and I would imagine she is immensely and well paid for it. I think she's well paid for it. I told a bunch of dim enter people that I wouldn't vote for Bernie in the 2020 Democratic primary, and you would have thought I said I was going to vote for Trump in 2020. Oh, I mean, look, if Bernie Sanders runs in the primary, Bernie Sanders enthusiastically has my vote. If Bernie Sanders is running against Trump, Bernie Sanders enthusiastically has my vote. It would be the greatest thing I would ever do in my life. That's I'm being hyperbolic. I'm being immensely hyperbolic. Mrs. Tom is going to be like, what? You asshole. Terry Hall, but she's not very good at it. It's easy to lie to a kindergartner. Oh, that's funny. Kathleen Cohn, Bonnie, we're in the reset right now. The change came when we were all able to talk to each other. I'd say we're in the midst of it right now. It's uncomfortable, huh? Lorms, Bernie! Bernie! I couldn't do it justice, Lorms, but you had a bunch of exclamation points. Yeah, look, I look at it as what's considered the leftist change in the country. That's the first point. You have, it's almost like you have the king and a bunch of his friends held up in the fortress, but the rest of the public and everything else was kind of behind something else. Something else. There's a rumbling in the countryside, and they're going for the king and his men. That's, yeah, that sounds like the perspective, or at least that's the epic perspective I'm given. Think of all the communication that you've ended up with, like over the course of the past, what, 2 years, 2 or 3 years. You've had a sea change in what it means to be a lefty. So much so that Democrats will shun you away. It's like, get out of here, get out of here. It's like you're their dark, dirty brother or something that they want to get rid of so they can hook up with whoever. But now they're rubbing themselves in this thing of lefty. It's like, I'm friends with Bernie Sanders and I'm Tom Perez and I'm going to jump around the country with Bernie Sanders. And every time somebody opens their mouth, the Democrat, it has the term Bernie Sanders in it. It's like, wow, that's pretty amazing. Hillary Clinton, I'm a progressive. Are you? Are you? That's fucking amazing. Like, all of these people want to consider themselves progressive. Each and every one of the Democratic National Committee people stepped out on that stage and says, I consider myself a progressive. I consider myself a progressive. Look, at a certain point, it just destroys the meaning of the word. You know what I mean? It's like calling this 3-foot-tall person the largest man on the planet. It doesn't work. But whether it works or not, it's just kind of the point. There's a sea change in the way this stuff was seen. That's different. It's only been a few years, but that is significantly and fundamentally different. Now, yes, the people who are in power are leaning a particular way. They toe a particular line. All of that is absolutely true. But mind you, we're talking about the ones that remain in power. They've lost like 1,000 legislative seats. They lost the House, the Senate, Supreme Court, and presidency. They're falling out of power like dead flies. There's a sea change. Those people are going to be replaced with somebody. The question becomes, who are they going to be replaced with? And are you going to be able to get significant numbers of people in Congress that think more like you and less like them? It's a civil war. It's a civil war. 2020. I am fascinated by 2020. I am thoroughly fascinated with what was going to take place in 2020. Progressively corrupt. Hillary is tenacious. She is tenaciously corrupt. I agree. Brian, vote early and often. Don't let Trump hear you say that. He already thinks 3 million voted in California. Catholic Code Joy is pissed off at Bernie and attacking Jane because she can't see her time is limited, and that goes down if Sanders rises. Yes, her stock does. Yes, her stock does. I suspect she's going to be this bitter, vindictive woman on TV lashing out at President Bernie Sanders. That's what I think would happen. That's what I think would happen. They're already running hit jobs on him, saying, oh, he's too old. He's too old. That these Democrats who are supposed to be standing up for the LGBT, African Americans, Hispanics, all of a sudden hates elderly people. The Democratic Party hates elderly people all because of Bernie Sanders. The party is ridiculous. If you remember, Obama was locking up one whistleblower after the next. You could not hear peep out of any of the Democrats as Obama used the Espionage Act to attack one person after the next, let alone have a thing in the White House to go after the media and investigative reporters. When Donald Trump takes office, within the first few weeks, you hear Donald Trump is going after whistleblowers. And you hear Democrats saying, whoa, you can't go after whistleblowers. That's a foul, man. You can't go after whistleblowers. We need to protect the whistleblowers. We need to protect the whistleblowers. It's a hypocrisy at a level that is breathtaking. And it's one of those things that just turns you off to politics. They're all so sleazy and disgusting. And it's both parties. Both parties. They're so shameless. They're so lack of integrity that ultimately you end up in this food fight where one party says, one thing, and the other party says, well, you did it too. You did it too. This thing that I'm hitting you over the head with, yes, I'm saying that you hit, you did the exact same thing. They're so sleazy and so shameless that you can't really, it's hard to take any of them seriously. It really is. And the media just lumps into that. So Fox News has their narrative, MSNBC has their narrative, and you have these kind of conspiracy theories that goes on with CNN being the ringleader in between, or being the person in between. They hated RT because RT gave a different perspective. All of those channels are fundamentally the same thing. Those channels fundamentally agree on reality. There may be minor, ways in how they see it, but ultimately they agree on reality the way it is. RT had somewhat of an anti-imperialist agenda that was completely antagonistic towards this kind of military and war thing that both of these parties liked on these networks. Yeah, I'm immensely cynical of American politics and American media, but they've made me that way. If I grew up in the 60s, I would have a very different perspective of government. That is not the perspective I have. That is not the perspective I have at all. August Cybernaut. Yeah, we'll go from a guy foaming at the mouth in Trump to an older cuddler drooling himself into Sanders. Oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. And that's slightly racist against people of high age. I think Bernie Sanders is perfectly fine to run. And I am not an ageist. If Bernie Sanders can do the job, he's still a vibrant, vigorous man. Apparently Joanne Reid thinks so. She thinks he's muscling what's her name out the way. Then yeah, he should be able to run. He should be able to run. You'd be lucky to have him. You'd be lucky to have him. Somebody on my thread one day said, "You don't deserve Sanders." It's like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I love Nina too. I like Nina Turner. I like Nina. I don't think Nina's going to run in a presidential election, but I like Nina Turner myself. Yeah. All right. This is going for an hour. I am going to end this. Guys, I appreciate you guys showing up. Totally. Like I said, these things are random, so I'm always shocked that anybody shows up. And not to mention for this story, because the story is thin at best. But that being said, I do like the conversation, so thank you guys for turning out. Also, Kathleen Cohn, thank you for the super cash. I absolutely appreciate it. And guys, if you appreciate the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Well, at this point, super cash. I seem to do a lot of these. Thanks, guys.